How is everybody doing today? Happy Monday to everybody. We're just going to do a quick spot check as it is a new week. Make sure everything is good. We'll go ahead and get started. All right. So let's go ahead and kick this off. My name is Jared. This is Engineering the Markets. It is April 19th, 2021. Let's go ahead and get into it. So looking at our SPY and looking at our weekly profile, we see that the SPY continues its upward momentum. Now, last week we did close near the highs. We had some breaches of some upward resistance zones. And overall, while the volume has trickled down slightly, the SPY has not put in a pullback or any sort of large reaction to facilitate a downside move at this point. As we dig into our daily, and we'll start off just looking at some of the futures contracts for the SPY, we're seeing that in the Sunday session, the open of ES, and also some of this pre-market session, we are opening slightly lower. As we dig into a smaller time frame, we'll see that the market in the futures contracts did open lower than some of the inventory that was produced on Friday. And we did facilitate a gap fill. We closed up the gap that we formed on the lower open. But at this point, we're starting to fade lower. Now, in this perspective, we haven't lost any key levels. We haven't shown any harsh reaction to this gap down open on ES. But we do want to keep that in mind. This is a notable difference than most of our other Sunday session opens. And it's also one of the few leading indicators that may facilitate a down day today if we see some of that momentum start to break some of our key levels. But as it stands, as we look at the SPY, there has been no sign of selling as of yet. We breached that resistance zone. We breached it on high volume on Friday. And we're sitting essentially on some sort of hanging man structure. As we get into our 4-hour, we look and see that we are still elevated. We're actually far removed from the 20 on the 4-hour. And as at this point, the SPY has been using the 180-day 4-hour chart, or the 20 moving average on this perspective, as sort of a buy zone. So a pullback to this area, as long as we're not seeing a large breach through, could potentially act as just another dip buying opportunity for more highs. If we get into our 30-day 1-hour, and we look at where value sits in the SPY, pull up a pin just so I can mark off some of this level of interest. Some of the SPY inventory holding up here above 415. We still have this shelf that we have yet to back test. And then we have this large shelf sitting close to 406. So when I mention key levels, one of the things I am referring to is large value zones from the perspective of a volume profile. And what typically happens in a market that is correcting is that you will start by either losing through an actual price breach or a gap down. You will lose some sort of value zone. And therefore, market participants who are in that zone, let's say longs, would essentially need to start covering as they're starting to hit some of their stop losses. And if they're short-term players, whatever thesis they had tends to fall apart at that point. If you're opening on a gap down, normally your long thesis kind of erodes pretty quickly. So the market has yet to really lose any of these key levels, but we have these notable zones of gaps, areas where there's not a lot of support and not a lot of inventory. If the market were to fall through these, we would expect there to be a quick escalation to the downside as we hit one of these shelves on the way down. So we're basically plotting out where can the SPY head to if we were to see a down day. And this is just preparation, not to say that it will occur, but if it does occur, we want to be ready for when it will potentially find support once again. VPOC obviously way below us at 394. We'll just call it 395 for the purposes of this analysis. We're sitting well above the VA range, which shows the fact that we are heavily extended. And even from the perspective of just a 10-day chart, we are sitting well above the VA high of the past 10 days, with some smaller time frame shelves of value sitting right around 415, which would bring us to the low of pre-market on Friday session. The next zone of support would be this VA high. As you can see, there is a pocket of value here. We would expect the market to, in most cases, fall through this pocket before hitting this zone here and finding potential support. So overall preparation here, looking at volume profile to find not only a price level, but a value level, something that holds much more weight when it comes to finding buyers and facilitating the seller inventory that could potentially lead to a downside move. As we look at our Qs and we look at the weekly perspective, the Qs did make a new all-time high, and notably they did close at a new all-time high, albeit basically by about $1. It looks like, let's see, 336 is the close. And we had a close of 342. Actually, no, this is about $6, so apologies for that. So on the weekly, we did have a new close all-time high, which is notable. That usually is a sign that not only could we facilitate the 100% retracement off of the lows, but we actually closed our inventory on the week above a previous level. So that, to me, is a clear break of a level, and the level being all-time high shows a lot of strength in this market. As we get down into our daily, we note that although the Qs have been strong off of this bounce, we had our nice bull flag structure, and that has been not only working out very well, but well above its expected target. The Qs are sitting right below a resistance zone. And I keep bringing this zone up because it is notable. It is this uptrending support. And we've seen that as you lose this, it tends to be rather challenging for price to get back above. If price were to get back above, this could facilitate a more parabolic move in this market, even more so than what we've seen so far. But at this time, it is acting as some sort of dynamic resistance. Market is having a lot of trouble getting over this slanted resistance, which used to be support. We can see that more clearly on the 4-hour, where although the Qs have been holding up quite well, and some of this 20 moving average dynamic support has been bought, we're seeing significant pullbacks from these levels with our dynamic resistance being extrapolated. So Qs opening up weak today. As we dig into a 30-day, we can see that similar to the SPY, we had an open that was lower in the futures market, and that is showing itself inside the Qs. As we are getting close to Friday's low, we'll want to be on the lookout. Is this a significant loss of inventory, and whether or not this can lead to potentially more downside? So we'll bring up our volume profile to see if there's any risk. We do have a lot of shelves of value up here. Market has spent significant time up here putting in support. And we do have this pocket sitting around, I'll call it 337 without a price level. See if I can zoom in on that and get a closer number. Nope. Okay. So we have this pocket. If we were to lose, let's say Friday's low, we are at risk of filling this zone and falling through it rather quickly, but we would soon find support at around 335. You can see that the structure here is similar to this upside inventory. There are a lot of market participants who've placed risk in this area, and therefore we would see some reaction at this point. It doesn't have to be some sort of V-bottom, but ultimately price needs to be resolved if we were to come back here. New participants would have to participate to the upside, or buyers and sellers would indicate that this is no longer value and bring us lower. That could bring us down to 331, another shelf before a pocket. And then finally, if we really see some selling, this pocket here offers little to no support, and that would bring us down to our VA high, which would be a major pullback in this area, but ultimately just a back test from the daily perspective. So with that in mind, and we'll look at our daily just to confirm that. I'll just take this off. You can see that a pullback to 325 is simply back testing the range that we broke out from. And these are the significant highs that we had as the market was consolidating down at these lower ranges. So we had multiple tests up here. We'd come back to back test that number, maybe find new buyers, and then we'd see whether or not this market needs to consolidate after a big drop. So on our 10-day, 30-minute, same idea, volume profile. While we are sitting at the VA high from the shorter term time frame, the market is strong, and we want to at least leverage the idea that in a strong market, price tends to continue to be strong for long periods of time. So short time frame, the idea is that if you're a short time frame market participant, you're looking for a bounce here off of this VA high. And then once again, you have the same idea where a pocket of value, not offering a lot of support until about 336, this zone here, and then ultimately another pocket down to your VPOC, which would be 331.40. So the profile is supporting the fact that if we start losing key levels, we do have consolidation zones. We don't expect these to be lost quickly, but if they do start to get lost, it can facilitate more and more selling as we fall through subsequent pockets, and more market participants have to cover their long positions with stop losses and hedging. So the idea is that we're prepared for a drop if this market were to drop today. But so far, we are still in bullish territory, so we want to keep that in mind throughout the session. IWM, noticeable laggard in the past couple of weeks. We have not seen a lot of significant momentum price action in this index as of yet. And although we do have some bullish intermediary structures, this market has simply not been the place to focus in the past, couple of weeks. We've seen some intraday opportunity. We've seen a little bit of a breakout from the intermediary perspective, but overall, definitely not where a lot of participation has been shown. On the daily, we still have this bull flag structure. I'll call it a bull pennant, given the way that the consolidation form. Flagpole, pennant, breakout of the pennant, but we have yet to clear the high, and therefore we have yet to clear the range, which means not a lot of momentum has come into this structure as of yet. We've simply gotten out of the consolidation, but we have not gotten out of the range. So far, we're holding up, and we're doing a couple of daily back tests on this breakout point, but there has not been a lot of urgency to get into this product. So we want to always be keeping that in mind as this market is shifting higher and getting to a point of overextension. Why has this market underperformed and will it continue to underperform in the event of selling across, all three index products? We see that we're once again consolidating in this range, forming once again another tightened structure. From this perspective, we have this relatively clear pennant, and we are starting to breach it to the downside. So obviously that is not good from the bullish perspective. We want to keep that in mind, as everything is really non-directional at this point. There's a lot of consolidation, not a lot of price exploration or range expansion. Looking at our 30-day value volume profile, you can see that we're sitting very close to VPOC. This is one of the main reasons why this market is having trouble getting off the ground. Until we can breach one of these VA range high or range low, it is challenging to get away from VPOC at the beginning. There's simply too many market participants claiming that this is a balanced zone, and you have those participants fighting, saying price should be here, no, price should be back down. Price should be lower, no, price should be a little bit higher, keeping VPOC in play. Until we can get away from this zone with conviction, we simply have not seen the type of momentum in other products. And while we are sitting above it and the VPOC perspective, so the bias is to the upside, once again, the fact that we haven't really gotten away or out of the range is showcasing how powerful VPOC can be. You typically want to trade or have momentum plays when you're far removed from VPOC, potentially breaching one of these ranges, because you get that nice range expansion. And then when you get too far away from it, you can sort of fade it back. So that gives you opportunity both to the upside and to the downside. And for those unfamiliar with this indicator, VPOC, ooh, that's hard to see. Let's see if I can get a better color here. Just right over that. So that's your VPOC. That's your volume point of control. It's that red line. Your VA high is going to be up here. That's that upper range, and then your VA low, which is going to be, some people call it volume area or value area. You'll hear those used interchangeably most times. Typically, they do mean the same thing. But technically, this is going to be your value area high, value area low. And it's simply a standard deviation between VPOC and about 68% of the volume that's been placed around VPOC. So that shows the range of roughly one standard deviation between the two. Hence, a lot of market participation is occurring in that zone. In our 10-day, 30-minute, we're sitting a shorter time frame below VPOC, which just showcases that the consolidation over the past couple days, we're starting to lose it to the downside. And this short-term time frame is showing that a target, if you move away from VPOC, is going to be your VA low. This is your short-term target for this indicator. That would bring us to a back test of the breakout point, which is a pretty, I would say, straightforward target to look at. Okay, so we've got some perspective into where we're opening this week. We know that the markets are, in general, extended. We are not necessarily looking for all-out longs at this overextended range. We obviously have some risk to the downside if we start to lose those key levels. And as we lose key levels, we'll be looking for key value zones, areas where the market has shown a lot of balance. We want to see those back tested and see what the reaction is when we get to those points. If we come into them and inflect away very heavily, we know that buyers are in that zone. They are willing to hold that value zone. And obviously, we're looking for some upside momentum. If we see consolidation and another breakdown, we once again are looking to the next pocket to be filled, basically a gap from the perspective of the volume profile, and coming down into the next shelf of value. and we'll just keep those shorter time frame theses in mind. As we clear levels, we want to see things kind of facilitate themselves to the downside until new buyers step in or buyers step back in. Same time frame buyers just getting back into their long positions. And then obviously the same way to the downside. If we were to, capitulate much lower than where we currently are. So some notable points of interest today. We see that the VIX is slightly elevated this morning. We're opening up on a gap open. And this is a Monday session, so it is one that typically has a larger than normal gap on the opening session. But we are opening higher. We're opening at about 5%, 5.5% higher. Obviously, the VIX is very compressed at these levels. If we were to see markets start to sell, we want to see if the VIX is correlating to the upside, and is some of this selling based around fear, based around some sort of hedging activity, and are people starting to facilitate that with volatility expanding? If we see selling and the VIX stays pretty level or even starts to fall off, we'll know that this may be more of a sector rotation based selling, where strong sectors get sold, weaker sectors maybe come back into play, and ultimately the market stays flat to slightly down overall. And we've seen this multiple times in the past couple of weeks. Still keeping an eye on things like energy throughout the next week or so. Natural gas having a strong push off of some of these dynamic supports, the 200-day moving average offering a nice buy zone of natural gas. Plus we have crude, which came out of this range. We had a nice range compression on a pennant structure in the range, and that allowed us to break out, which we're now coming back down to potentially back test this upper range. We want to keep in mind that this range kind of starts at about $62 a barrel. If we can hold above that and move higher, that would be a nice signal that this crude-based selling is starting to end, and we could see more upside in energy overall. Some other things that we always want to mention as we enter into earnings is there's going to be certain sectors and certain industries with large companies coming out with their earnings that can set the tone for other companies, other stocks in a sector. And while you might have one company come out with good earnings, the rest of the stocks in that sector may correlate, and they all sort of get bought up on the same day or within the same relative session. We saw this with financials last week. A lot of the early financial companies came out with really stellar earnings, and on those days we saw a pretty good push to the upside within the financial sector as a whole, regardless of if the company came out with earnings that day. So it was a nice correlated sector-based rotation into financials, albeit some of the later financial companies came out with less than stellar earnings, and those were sold into a little bit. So we have some short-term opportunity if we have certain sectors in play, and then if they all come out with stellar earnings, that could lead to the potential for a full-on sector rotation for multiple weeks potentially. So what are some of those opportunities? Starting off today, we have things like Coke and IBM. Coke may be setting the stage for some of the consumer staple companies. We maybe want to look into the specific industry of Coke, not necessarily the sector as a whole. Obviously, stocks like Pepsi last week coming out with their earnings may have set the tone for Coke, but not necessarily one-to-one correlated. We have stocks like IBM coming out later today. So Coke reported, IBM has not. This is going to be aftermarket. And then starting tomorrow, we really get into quite a few S&P 100 companies. One of the filters I have on now is just S&P 100. because it is going to be our larger cap companies. And notable names in here include a lot of healthcare names. We have Abbott Labs, we have J&J, we have Procter & Gamble, and then we have a little bit of industrial and aerospace with Lockheed Martin. We have Philip Morris in the consumer defensive sector, so staples. And then we have Netflix, which Netflix is going to be one of our first key names in the quote unquote big tech sector. Netflix, not necessarily the largest market cap, but one of the first to report, and can sort of give an idea of where we expect the rest of the tech earnings to land. Is there going to be a super positive reaction, super negative, or is it somewhere in between and maybe sort of a wash when it comes to companies that aren't necessarily correlated with Netflix? So some key names not only to keep in mind for the earnings season, but also just across the board with those sectors and industries that they relate to. NIE, Verizon, and Kinder Morgan. NIE, one of the larger utility holdings. This is NextEra Energy. And we've seen utilities actually be on quite a big upside move. So it'd be interesting to see how they react to NextEra, Verizon, and Kinder Morgan, other stocks to look at. If we look into things like the NASDAQ, we're not actually seeing a lot of earnings on the NASDAQ until tomorrow, and that's going to be tomorrow after market. So we even, at this point, we somewhat expect the NASDAQ to be calm, albeit most of the earnings are coming up in about a day and a half. And for that, we have things like CSX, which is going to be industrial, railroad related industry. ICE Surgical, so Intuitive Surgical. That's going to be more in your healthcare with a lean towards biotech and definitely more on the technology side of healthcare. And then Netflix once again, along with ASML and our LRCX, which is Lam Research. Don't actually remember the industries for these two, but feel free to look into those. And then finally, Russell 2000. More names than we want to cover at this point, but just wanted to show that as the SPY and the NASDAQ obviously have less names to choose from, the Russell 2000 is fairly active in its earnings season starting this week. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, about 10 names today and about 32 tomorrow. So while the IWM and the Russell index itself have been less than stellar from the momentum perspective, some of these key earnings may be the match that ignites some sort of move across the board. And once again, since we're sitting at VPOC, that move could be to the downside just as easily as it could be to the upside. We obviously have a little bit of a bullish lean with all of our other indexes very strong, and the structure of IWM looking bullish. But so far, it really is sort of a 50-50 as we sit right at VPOC. So ultimately, as we get into earnings season, we want to stay on guard. We want to note that this market is really primed to go in either direction, as we do have a bullish trend that has yet to pull back, but we have a lot of downside risk if we were to start losing key levels. And with earnings coming out, we want to start to see our markets really bought at this point, our earnings getting sold into as they've been really priced into the max, or our earnings really just another sort of catalyst to bring this market even higher, albeit it would be lovely to see a small pullback before we were to do that, to really define some risk for any sort of long position. So that's pretty much it as we get into our Monday and our weekly session. We'll start to dig a little bit deeper into some of the earnings as they come out, see the overall reaction from the market, and whether or not we can take advantage of some of those correlations as they show themselves in the days to come. So with that said, my name is Jared. This has been Engineering the Markets. Trade safe and keep in mind some of those key earnings coming up in the next couple days. Take it easy and see you tomorrow.
All right. Good morning, guys. Welcome to the pre-market prep. I hope everyone is having an amazing morning. Hope you had a great day yesterday. Good morning, Peter. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Carlos. I am doing great on this Monday morning. Just sitting in for Norm for a few minutes until he arrives. Happy to be here to help.
All right, absolutely. And we're happy to have you here. So thank you for that. All right, guys, let's get to it. Today on our gappers list, we do have quite a bit in the red this morning, not so much in the green. So we'll go through these and see what's out there for us today. Peter, I'm not sure if you had a chance to kind of look into the markets and give us a market update this morning, but if not, we can skip it until later.
Yeah, no, I have. And, Jared has done a great job of positioning us in the market. As you see here on the Daily SPY, with Friday's action at all-time highs once again, and us opening lower today, we're getting into a pattern that if you do the doji candlestick pattern, it's sort of what do they call this? An evening star, or sometimes called an abandoned baby. But essentially, it means it looks like we're gapping down a little bit today, and all indications are that we might be heading slightly lower. But there is a lot of levels of support just below where we're at. So we'll see what happens. I don't expect a lot of news because, as you see here on the economic calendar, we have nothing planned for announcements today, tomorrow, or Wednesday. So it should be relatively quiet. It's only going to be earnings, it looks like at this point, that's going to be moving the market. We do have a couple of earnings today and more coming up later this week.
All right, excellent, Peter. Yeah, earnings should definitely keep us nice and busy this week. All right, guys, let's get to it. Let's hold on a second. I'm gonna just change the setting here. There we go. All right, let's see what we have on our list this morning. Let's get rid of our watch list today and see what's going on here. Let's start with gapping up today. CLNE, and Peter, as usual, cut me in if you have any good catalyst that we should be aware about. Here's a CL.
We'll start. Yep. We'll start right there with CLNE. They do have a catalyst. They have a new deal with Amazon, which I believe is what's pushing the price up this morning.
All right, nice. Anything that Amazon touches, again, is going to get great volume. You're seeing that here this morning, 2 million shares traded so far, up 23%. So this is nice. Let's keep an eye on this one on our list this morning. GameStop here also gapping up nicely at 10% this morning. Not a whole lot of volume at the moment, only 288, but it's a great entertainment stock to look at and see what's happening there. Here is a HOG. HOG, this is Harley Davidson, right? Yes, Harley Davidson right up here. They're not the best type trading stock. Even when they have news or a catalyst, they don't trade all that well. This morning, they're up 8%, 288,000 shares traded. Again, I'm hesitant to add this one to my list, guys, because we've seen this before. It is just not a great intraday trading stock. So I'm going to keep it off my list. If you guys are watching it and if it gets better, give me a heads up.
Now, they do have catalysts this morning. Not only did they have earnings where they beat their estimates on earnings, which is why they're gapping. There's some news where they're taking on some, I think it's in the UK, where they have like 56% tariffs on their products, and they're trying to fight that. So they've got a couple of different news catalysts, which may cause some interest in the stock. But as Carlos points out, like I've tried a few times, it does not generally trade well.
Yeah, it is not a good trading stock at all. So I'm going to keep it off this morning. Let's take a look at CLOV, 26 million shares flow. So not a low flow stock, but more on the lower side. They are up 8% this morning, 7.5 million shares traded so far. Their pre-market actions, very, very active. I think we can take a look at this. We'll add it on here for now. CLOV. JKX is next. JKS is next here. We've seen this one before, guys. If you guys remember, this is the one that went insane in September, going from 15 bucks all the way up to 90. Had a period, a couple of months, which is kind of creating a very wide range between what seems to be 77 and somewhat 58. It's just kind of bouncing back and forth. We lost that earlier this year, and now we're at the bottom down here, creating a different range, it looks like. But for the most part, pre-market action is not great right now, 3.5. When this was happening, again, it was very difficult to trade. I don't think I ever touched this once when we were doing this back and forth here. So I don't expect much out of this one. I'm going to keep it off my list as well. If it does get better, you guys know what to do. Looking at next, we have Ride this morning. Ride is down 8.8, 376,000 shares traded. Again, it's just been taking a real nice hit here since February, just kind of dropping down nicely here. Pre-market action is not great. It's not clean. So I'm hesitant to add this one as well. We'll come back to it. Let's put it as a possible. We'll come back to it, see if there's anything that can come out of that one. That's the one leading our gapping down list this morning. Here's Bitcoin, CAN, Mara, Riot. What else we have going here? We have Coin, which is not Bitcoin, but is another one in that category. All down this morning. So again, Bitcoin just continues to get hit, guys. Here's CAN is down 8% this morning with 324. Mara has 848,000 at the moment as volume shared traded, down 7.6. And Riot is also down 7% with 608. So any one of these could be good. Mara is on short selling restriction. CAN is not. I think I'm going to go with Mara. I think I like Mara out of all of them, and CAN sometimes. I'll go with Mara. I'm going to ask CAN as a possible just to see if there's anything going to happen today in that area. So again, just continue to get hit pretty nice here.
Obviously, this is just generally, we're seeing the cryptocurrency market down this morning. Bitcoin is down. I mean, it's well below 60,000 again, but and it's I mean, it was it gapped down over the weekend, and now it's just sort of holding that level. So we'll see what happens. I mean, like you said, all of these stocks are options to play the Bitcoin market if you don't want to play cryptocurrency directly.
Exactly. We have Coin here. Coin is down 2%, 3% this morning, 418,000 shares traded. And there's a lot of talks behind this one. So we'll see. We'll see where that goes. Again, I don't think, for me personally, the way I trade, this is not really tradable. It's very difficult to take a trade on something like this. But again, that's definitely a hot topic in the last couple of days here. All right, let's head on down, see what we miss here. OCGN, they are down 7% this morning. Pre-market action, 500,000 shares traded right now, which is not trading very clean, though. You can see here the pre-market action doesn't look clean at all. Their daily's a mess. I'm going to skip on down for now. GEVO, this one's starting to lose it here a little bit with not great volume, though. I wish I had more volume, only 174,000. But I do like this area where we're testing this support here. If we can drop that, we have some room to run. So that could be interesting. For the most part, their daily is not great, but I think it's worth having as a possible. Maybe take a second look at that one again. Peloton this morning down 6.2. People starting to head back to the gym instead of buying bikes, maybe.
There was some news last week that they were advising that people not use their treadmills. Unfortunately, there's been reports of both animals, and I think a child was killed on the treadmill because they got sucked under the treadmill from the back. So you got to be careful. You got to be careful about that. I think reality. That's sort of the risk with any treadmill, especially being that these are now moving out of the basement into the main part of the house, and people are using them more than ever before. Like, I don't think this is unique. But of course, Peloton is front and center as soon as you start talking about health equipment. There's always a danger that the kids are going to come and get to where you don't want them to be. So I think that's probably sort of just that negative press is what's taking them down a little bit.
Wow, that's a shame. Somebody put it here. Peloton killed a kid. Really?
Yeah, that's what I said. There was a child that got killed, unfortunately, when they got.
Wow.
So what happened is they approach it from the back, right? And with the treadmill rolling under, they sort of got sucked.
They got slammed. Yeah.
Anyway.
Wow, that is a shame. Dangerous stuff with those equipment, guys. So if you have one, be very, very careful. All right, heading on down here, guys. So Peloton is on deck here, unfortunately, with that not so great news. They're down 6% this morning. Let's take a look at NKLA. They are down 3%, 2.6 actually, 121,000 shares traded. Not a great pre-market action, so I don't like what I'm seeing here. I'm going to skip on this one. BNGO this morning, they are also down 2.8. But again, I'm not seeing great price action in the pre-market, right? So the pre-market right now does not look all that great on this one. But I'm going to add this one because I know it can trade very well. I've seen you guys take some amazing trades on this one. We'll add it for now. We'll see what we can get out of that one. Here we have NVIDIA. NVIDIA is definitely in play, guys. This thing has been so nice to trade and look at the last couple of days. Today, they're pulling back a bit, down 3% this morning. Definitely want to take a look at that one. With that said, I know AMD has been putting in some pretty good days as well. This morning, not doing a whole lot, but man, they had an amazing week last week, at least on this day here, Thursday. Nice little pop on AMD. Heading down, we have NNDM. I don't like the way this one trades, so I'm going to skip on it. And this morning, you can see here, it does not look very good. And Tesla, take a look at Tesla today. They are down 2.6 this morning. They could be interesting. I do like Tesla as well. All right, we'll stop here. Peter, anything that you like this morning that we have not looked at?
Two things. One mentioned by a member here in the room, AMBO. It's a low float, but they have they're a training company. I think they're Chinese based, but they've got a deal with Amazon for artificial intelligence training. So that's certainly lifting them. Be careful though. It's about a 2 million float, so it's very low float, but it is moving a lot this morning. The other one is Coca-Cola, KO. It doesn't typically trade all that well, but again, it's earnings day. They once again beat their earnings. I guess sitting at home, people want their Coca-Cola. So I don't know, but they beat the earnings, and they may, they may have some movement during the day, but so far, it's not looking that great.
We'll add those two. Yeah, Coca-Cola has actually a decent pre-market activity this morning. So compared to what they're used to doing, they don't trade very well, so that'll be good to watch here. All right, excellent, guys. Let's go over to our chat room, see what you guys have this morning. We will start with, all right, so Rubber Toe, we already got AMBO, that's good. AMBO, let's head down. We have KNL this morning. This looks like a buyout, doesn't look very good right now. So you got the one pop and just kind of going sideways here, so that's not looking great. I'm gonna skip on that one for now. Let's take a look at NIO today. NIO this morning. Yeah,
it's a good call. It's a good call. You're right. That is a buyout, a $1.8 billion buyout where most of it's in cash. So not going to be a good trader.
Yeah, not going to be good today. Here is NIO, guys. NIO, not great volume, but again, we got to keep an eye on NIO because I think this thing is just kind of winding into a point here. Eventually, we're going to get some kind of breakout, hopefully, because they get great volume every single day. So eventually, we get some kind of breakout one way or the other on NIO. So I'm going to add this one on here on NIO this morning. So I like to keep an eye on that one. All right, let's head on down. We have NIO, GameStop. We have here as entertainment purposes only. Again, I don't really trade that stock. We have QS as well. What's going on there? QS, this is the one that dropped big last week, right? It had a nice gap down here. It sold off the entire day. Actually popped up and then sold off for the rest of the day. Could be interesting. They're slamming down against this area of support here for the last two trading days. This is the one that got the short from Scorpion, whatever. They did a short piece on them, so they've been dropping since then. So we'll see. I don't like the pre-market action so much right now. We might just get a little bit of a chop here on this one. Again, we had 2 really good days last week. I'm not sure if that's going to continue on QS. So, you know what? We'll take a second look at that just in case. We're at QS there. All right, Hog, we looked at, guys. Sen, as we said earlier, it's just not a great trading stock for intraday trading, so I'm going to keep it off for now. NS, no, that's not it. NSPR. All right, what do we have here? They're down. They're up 23%, 2.9 million shares traded. And just look at the way this is trading. This is more of a penny stock, and just look at the action you're getting here. So 2.9, and you're not getting a great pre-market action at all. So we usually stay away from these penny stock guys. Anything trading this under $1 is not really something we look at. Let's take a look at what else we have here. Okay, I think that's it in our chat. Let's take a look over on YouTube. What do we have over here? Space has been taking a pretty nice hit. Let's see what they're doing today. They are up 1.2 this morning. Not great volume though, but they are very extended towards the downside here, being selling off quite a bit here in the last couple of since the beginning of the year, guys. Right, beginning of the year here, February, just started dropping here very nicely. We're sitting at an area of support, so it could be interesting. But right now, I do not see them in play. So I'm gonna keep them off the list for now. Tesla, we do have. They are in play. Piton is in here, guys. Unfortunately, with some awful news. What else? ANPC.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, just looking at some news here on space. Sorry, I'm back a little bit. I got excited. I like the space travel stuff. But it looks like SpaceX won a contract to create a human landing system to land people on the moon. So they beat out Blue Origin, and of course that's probably what's affecting SPCE this week. After last week, they were down a little bit of news that the founder, I guess, was starting to sell out a little bit, right, when Branson was selling some of his own shares, which is never seen as a sign of confidence. Anyways, I mean, he could be doing it for legitimate reasons, but it doesn't matter. The stocks tend to react to that. So we'll see what happens today. I mean, SPC is up marginally this morning, but we might see some action as, space news tends to get people trading it. So we really just need volume.
You're absolutely right. We'll throw that on there, guys. SPC, we'll put it as a possible for now. See if we can get any action out of that one at the opening bell. All right, so ANPC, let's take a look at this one. ANPC. Oops, let's get that E out of the way. There we go. I don't like the price action. I don't like the daily for sure. The daily's all over the place. Every candle overlapping the previous one. You don't have a nice range in there neither. Volume extremely light, guys. I mean, if you look down here, besides that one day, everything else is under 1 million shares traded. So I don't like to see something like that. Today could be a difference maker. They're trading 1.3 right now. They're up 17, almost 18%. But even that 18% with that 1.4, it's not trading clean. I mean, look at these candles, the way they're building here. Again, I just don't like this one, so I'm going to stay away from that one. Let's take a look at IBM this morning. They're not doing a whole lot. Pretty quiet right now. No volume. Let's look at UAL. See some of the travel airlines. UAL right now, it's very light on the volume, so I don't think they're really in play at the moment. If I look at American Airlines, same thing here. They're very light, only 245, which is light for these guys. By now, they're trading, a couple of 700,000, 800, almost 1 million. So I don't think they're really in play at the moment. Just for the heck of it, let's take a look at CCL. And I don't see anything here. NCLH, nope, nothing there as well. All right, so not much going on there. Need, NEEE. What's happening here? No volume. It's been having a nice run the last couple of weeks here. But again, just no volume right now. So I don't think that one is in play. So space, yep, we do have space also. So that's on deck. Thank you for that. All right, anything else that we might have missed? I think this covers our list here. Check. Yep, I think we are good. XPEF, let's see. David from Connecticut is giving us that one. What's going on there? Yeah, XPEF is almost like NEO, guys. All right, we've been just kind of slamming down here. We're kind of trading into a point at the moment. This could be interesting. Yeah, we could add XPEF. We can put that maybe as a possible. There's a lot on here that doesn't look great that we're going to take off, but we'll add that on there just for now. All right, excellent. Let's Peter, unless you have anything else you want us to look at, we'll go over to announcements and we'll come back to Dr. Katz. Today is Monday, so we'll have Mindfulness Monday today.
Indeed. No, I got nothing else for the moment.
All right, excellent.
And let's do the announcements. So this week we have our normal lineup of activities, which means we've got a full week of trading education and information for you. Starting today, Brian should be on not only at the open, but towards the close to talk about his view of the markets and some swing trading advice. Carlos is doing his onboarding class tonight. So don't forget that. For anybody that's new here in the room, it's a great opportunity to get oriented with bear bull traders and with some of the tools that you can use. So that's at 8 o'clock this evening with Carlos. Tomorrow we will have Eamon's trade review, which happens at noon on Tuesdays and Thursdays for our members. And of course, we've got a success webinar, which we'll talk about in a minute, at 8 o'clock. Wednesday is always about your psychology, which is the most important aspect of your trading. We've got a webinar coming up for you again this week. And then Thursday, we have Thor with his Thor's Day, as we like to call it, with his group mentorship. And it's always a fantastic day. So as always, we are here all day from the time the market's open to the time the closing bell rings to help you through your trading day and tell you what we see and provide advice and hopefully a little entertainment and companionship. So let's get to some of the specific webinars that we've got.
Peter, just a heads up. Next week is actually this week. I don't think this thing is updated. So just next week will be this week.
That's true, because I know that tomorrow I am presenting with Andrew. We're going to be talking about how you trade a single stock. So as many of you know who have heard me trade or heard the talk in the room, AMD tends to be a go-to stock for me. And Andrew has traded NIO for quite a period of time and amongst everything else. And we're going to be talking about, so why? Why do we end up focusing on a single stock? What are some of the advantages and the downsides of doing so? And hopefully we'll provide you some insight as to how you can incorporate a focused stock in your trading. So that'll be tomorrow night, Wednesday, April the 20th at 8 p.m. And then, as we mentioned, on Wednesdays, we have our Psychology Wednesday. So we will have mindfulness with Nada. So again, remember, the next week is actually this week. We unfortunately haven't had the opportunity to update our slides yet, but that'll be on Wednesday, the 21st, again at 8 o'clock. Nada will be talking us through how true are the stories that you tell yourself. We all know that we have an internal dialogue, or well, hopefully it's a monologue, I guess, that goes on in your head. But, so how do you manage that? How true are those stories that you tell yourself? And how do you manage that? And that's an important aspect that you can incorporate into your trading psychology. So again, Wednesday at 8 o'clock. Something that we do here in the room all the time is every day we look for the best trades that our members post. If you'd like to be considered for the member trade of the day, we love seeing those trades. Post them up on Twitter. It's always amazing to see the fantastic trades that our members are taking. But if you post them specifically with the tags at Bear Bull Traders, at MikeB_BBT, and at NormBBT, Mike and Norm take a look at them and they decide upon the member trade of the day. Use the hashtags that you see listed here, and every day we announce the member trade of the day. Today being Monday, into the close with Mike, we'll be talking about the member trade of the day from Friday, since Mike was off. Today's trade, and we pick a trade of the week from those that submitted those trades of the day. So we'll have a lot of activity going into the close, but with some fantastic trades for you to see. So please submit your trades in for that. And if you like what you see here and you're considering joining us, it's always a good opportunity to join us. We would love to see you. If you want to just try us out, see what it's like to be in the room, see what it's like to get that ongoing commentary support of the team and the camaraderie, I guess, of everybody in the chat room. You can use the code PREMARKET24 to get a $24 one-week trial. It gives you access to Carlos's onboarding class, which is happening tonight. So if you're thinking about it, today is a great time to do it, and we can get you set up so you can join that class tonight. And you get a full week of trading in the room. If you like that, then you can use the code SPRING40 to get 40% off our annual elite membership. So that membership will give you full access to all of our material, all our training courses, our psychology, our in-house psychologists, and it really gives you a lot of value. And speaking of our psychologist friends, we have with us today Dr. Jonathan Katz, who is here, as he is every Monday, to give us a little mindfulness review. Dr. Katz, I hope you had a fantastic weekend.
Doing just fine, Peter. Thank you. How are you today? Nice to see you.
Well, I am great. It's a little surprise. I got to step in for Norm last minute, but happy to be here and happy to be able to introduce the fact that you're here for part two of dealing with the emotional recovery from a losing streak. So interested to hear your wise words for this one.
Yeah, so today I thought I would present a few more thoughts and ideas and tips about the questions kind of you should ask yourself during a losing streak and kind of really what to pay attention to. And I think an important thing for traders to ask themselves is, first of all, did I do everything correct and did I follow my rules 100%? And then the trade just didn't work. Or alternatively, was it me that caused the loss? I think you can't call it a losing streak if you are not completely disciplined and break your rules all the time. So a couple of tips is that you really must establish clear rules for every aspect of your trading to achieve consistency. So this is an important thing. Do you take the best trades or do you take a lot of trades? And then you need to think about what's optimal. You know, when struggling, a trader should become more selective in their trading and really only take the best trades to reduce the noise. Another question that traders should ask themselves is, do you take a lot of correlated trades? A trader should be aware of that so you can deal with correlations consciously and you don't increase the risk with correlated markets. So you need to look for similarities in your losing trades. You know, what is the common theme that's there, and what are the biggest issues that cost you the most? These are important tips when kind of addressing kind of a losing streak. Also, in this regard, a checklist can really be helpful. It adds kind of objectivity, and it could also highlight mistakes before you make them. So a checklist, a journal, a way of really tracking kind of more definitively and objectively what's going on with your trades. A key thing for traders is when you're in a losing streak, you do not try to make up for a loss by increasing the risk. This is often a strong emotional tendency. You need to stay calm and really protect your mental capital. Don't dig yourself into a deeper hole. So that's very important. You know, 4, 5, or 6 losing trades is really in the big picture not a big deal, especially when you can have 2 winning trades, you know, are often enough to recover over such a streak. So please, the key thing here is don't lose your perspective when you're going through a little bit of a rough patch. As I've said many times, it's really important to seek guidance if you trade on your own, as many folks there, you know, many traders feel lost, and this is where kind of the BBT community can be incredibly helpful. You get support, you can share your experience with like-minded people, people can, you know, offer their support, some guidance. Trading can be very lonely and boring at times. That's a natural thing that happens, and you should find a way to hold yourself accountable, and by sharing your trading, the good, the bad, and the ugly with other traders in the community can be enormously helpful. Listen, if things get really bad and they become worse, you could always take a break from trading, as we said, for a day or two. Often that's helpful to realize that it's not that big a deal. If you gain perspective, that's kind of more than beneficial. Traders who try and force a winning trade after a losing streak often make things worse. And really, the key on this is the last thing you want to do is really to set off a losing spiral, you know, a downward spiral. That's really, losing trades are not problematic. It's kind of how you manage them emotionally and logistically. And so you really want to avoid things getting worse. So hopefully these are useful tips that people can apply day to day, and especially when you hit a patch where there's a series of losing trades for yourself.
Well, I hate to admit it, Dr. Katz, but I've fallen victim to a couple of the things you suggest we avoid. But I guess it just shows that, like every trader, right, we're all prone to you know, fall into those traps. So it's good that you bring them to the forefront so we can be aware of them and help manage them going forward.
Yeah, and one of the things, Peter, that I just want to remind folks out there is just what Peter said. You know, there are many of you who have a lot less experience than Peter trading. And, you know, I will tell you some of the top traders that I continue to work with, they experience this as well. I mean, one of the reasons that they're probably highly successful is because they've managed the downside effectively and increasingly better over time. But everybody is prone to some of the emotional volatility associated with losing streaks. So this is not something, again, that is binary and you either learn how to do or you don't. It's an ongoing learning process for everybody throughout their trading careers. And it should be viewed in that way, of just something that you're constantly trying to improve upon and get better at, and don't view it as like I'm good at this or I'm bad at this. It's a work in progress constantly.
Well, amen to that. Absolutely. You know, it's funny because I remember thinking when I started trading, I hear you, but I'm better than that. I've got this. Don't worry. And then you quickly realize you're not, right? We all fall into that. Like you said, it's about how you manage it. So thank you, Dr. Katz. Really appreciate your time as always. We'll talk to you again next Monday.
Peter. Be well.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Dr. Katz, for that. All right, guys, let's get to it. On our list, we have CLNE, we have CLOV. CLOV, so that's good as well. Looking okay this morning. We have Mara, that's good. I think that's going to be very active. Everything going on with Bitcoin, so we'll take a look at that one. We have Piton as well this morning, gapping down, so that's good. Nvidia, I think, is very active as well in their pre-market. NEO is starting to pick up some volume here, guys. 1.1 million right now, and XPEV also. Again, I think these stocks been beat up pretty nice here. So any sign of any positive movement, I think, can trade very well towards the upside. So I want to definitely keep an eye on those. Secondary list, we have Space, we have QS. I'm going to take off QS. I don't think that one looks too good. KO, you know, as much as, you know, no, I'm going to keep KO. Usually I would take this one off because it's not a great intraday trading stock. But, you know, they're breaking out of some levels here. They got some news on it as well, so might as well keep this on here. Tesla is good if you like trading it. I'm going to take it off because I prefer to trade like a NEO or something else, so I'm going to take this one off my list. BNGO, so BNGO right now still not looking too good pre-market wise. So I'm going to just remove it from our secondary list. I think we have some better ones we can look at. Here's GEVO. It's okay. I think it can get better. Let's give it a little more time. Here's RIDE. I think this one is okay. And CAN is another Bitcoin play here as well. So let's make some room. We got to move some more down from our main list here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, not that bad. 7 is not that bad. It's more than what I want, but we can move down XPEV. There we go. Move down XPEV. We got our 6, and that should be good to go. So yeah, and then we have our GameStop here as well. GameStop is looking actually pretty decent here in the pre-market, like it does want to break out of here today. So up 12% right now. Volume is starting to come in great here, so that could be a nice one too if you do like to trade these type of stocks. All right, someone asked me about mRNA. Let's take a quick look at it. Great day on Friday. Nice couple of runs here. It could be interesting. Could be. I'm going to add as a possible mRNA. We'll see what happens there. We'll come back to that one. All right, let's get some levels in here, guys. CLNE, again, this one has great pre-market action, great volume right now. It is up 26%. High of the pre-market at the moment, sitting at 14.15. We'll throw that level there. And then above that, we do have 14.77. And then all the way up here, obviously, 16.50. 56 in there as well. So a couple of levels towards the top. Towards the bottom on the daily, you can see here an area of support heading down at 13.31. Towards the bottom of that, another area of support right on here at 12.46. Couple of days bouncing off of that. You can see that here on the daily if you move over to the left a little bit. So that looks good there. And if you look at that, we placed those levels off our daily. And if you look at our pre-market action, you can see that that's kind of playing a little bit of a part here, right? Kind of getting some support here at 12.46. You got a little bit of resistance. It kind of blew through it, but you got some support coming back down to that 12.31. And obviously that 14.16, we had that from the high of our pre-market. So I think that looks good, guys. I don't think you need to add anything more towards the bottom. The highs and lows of the last 2 trading days. And this thing looking pretty strong right now, up 26%. CLOV, this one again, it has a beautiful pre-market action. It's got great volume. The daily here is horrible, as I mentioned before. Some of the volume on here is very light. So we'll see. Let's see what we can get out of this. For the most part, what's this less than? Is that a? Yeah, it's very light, guys. Like 5 million or something. So we'll see. Today, definitely they got some stuff going on. We are high of the pre-market 10.34. Above that, we do have all the way up here 1083, And then slightly above that, we do have 1164. So plenty of levels towards the top here. You can actually keep going and do some more, but I think that is enough for now. Towards the bottom, you do have your highs and lows from the last 2 trading days, and we also have our pre-market low down at 910 here for the pre-market low this morning. So that looks pretty good. Mara today, let's see here. Mara, again, Bitcoin just continues to take a hit here. Mara is just dropping down 8.7 this morning. Low of the pre-market at 35.30. So 35.25 to be exact. You can see here, that's a great area of support on this daily. Couple of touches on there. Couple of days bouncing off of that. This one here looking nice as well. Towards the bottom, very clean level towards the bottom, all the way down here at 29.87. Great area of support there. And then in between here, guys, again, that's a big drop from where the price is at now, right? 35.30 low of the pre-market down to 29.87. I don't think we'll get there. So right away, it's just a easy, smooth motion. But here, you do have a kind of a midpoint, 32.18. A lot of days touching this here. Resistance, you got support, resistance happening all around here. A couple of days opening and closing right around that area. So I think it's worth having that level there just in case we do decide to take a much deeper dive here with Mara this morning. Pre-market action looking very good. Great price action right now and some good volume at the moment. So we have Piton here, but again, the volume's still not great. They have a awful catalyst, unfortunately, this morning. Low of the pre-market 6. We're looking at 107. The high of the pre-market 111.47. So aside from that, towards the top, you got your highs and lows from the last 2 trading days. And then towards the bottom, you do have levels of support right on here, 101.94. So that looks good there as well. All right, let's see what else we have here, guys. I think that looks good for right now. Again, I'm not sure how well this is going to trade. Unfortunately, that's an awful news. But again, that can happen with this equipment on anything. So I don't know if this thing can push that down any further. We might get a little bounce here. Who knows? We'll have to see how that's going to play out. I'm not looking forward to anything. I'm not looking for this to just start dropping because that will unfortunately what happened. But we'll see. We'll have to see how the market's going to take that news on Piton's equipment there. NVIDIA, low of the pre-market, 611.98. Towards the bottom, we do have another great level here. This is the one we broke out of here a couple of days ago, right? We had a beautiful consolidation happening here, resistance at 558, and then the beautiful breakout all the way to 611. So that's nice there. In between here, do we have anything? We do, right on here, guys. 594. It could be 595 to be exact, right? You got a couple of days hitting that with their wicks opening and closing right on there. So that's a good one as well this morning. So, all right, that's good. Here is NIO. NIO, again, volume is good, 1.2 right now. NIO just, if you look at the bigger picture, their daily has been really, really good. Guys, just getting beat up pretty bad here. Try to get a little relief. It's just right back down. It's just kind of slowly making this range tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter into eventually we got to break out one way or the other here. You know, NIO gets great volume. Every single day, NIO gets great volume. You can see here they're sitting at easily above 80 million shares every single day. So if we could squeeze all this volume in one direction, that could be pretty fun for us. So definitely keep an eye on NIO just in case today is going to be the day where we do something like that. High of the pre-market 37.39. Above this, we do have something right in here. Yep, right there is good. 38.55 is nice. And then obviously all the way up here, another one, 41.71. Great area of resistance and support happening there as well. Towards the bottom, guys, highs and lows from the last 2 trading days. I don't think you need to add any more on NIO off the daily here. Right, so that is what we have. I don't think we need to add anything else at the moment. Secondary list, XPEF, Space, we have one here. KO, secondary list as well. GVO as a secondary looks good. Ride, Ride doesn't look too great right now, so let's get rid of this one. CAN looks decent, dropping down a bit here. My secondary play out of Mara for the Bitcoin stuff here this morning. And mRNA, we'll take a look at this one. Had a nice run the last couple of days. We'll see where this takes us today on mRNA. All right, let's see what our moderators have this morning. And apologies, guys, as I keep talking, I'm running. I just keep getting more congested and running out of breath. So excuse me for that. Let's see here. Okay, here's our moderators list. Okay, let's bring this right over here. All right, here we go. So we have, let's start with Thor this morning. So he's looking at run, he's looking at HOG, KO, QS, and CLNE, which looks very good right now, guys. Has a beautiful pre-market action. Again, they're talking about Amazon deal, as we mentioned earlier. Anything with Amazon, you're going to get volume. You're going to get some movement. Dimashi is looking at CLNE space, NEO, XPEV. Tiffany's looking at NEO, CLNE. Tesla secondary, and Mara as well. Peter, no IPOs for today. Usual for the Mondays. Usually you don't have a lot of IPOs on Monday. Jared's looking at Tesla, Mara, Riot for Bitcoin play. He's looking at also the VIX here, and also the market, the SPY, and the QQQ. Secondary list, Plug, Run, and NEO. He's also adding GME. GME looks pretty good, guys. It's trading very well. Again, if that was a stock that I would trade, I would keep it on my list, but I don't mess with that. Peter here is looking at CLN, AMD, and Apple. Secondary list, KO, Mara, NEO, and Ambo. And Mike is looking at mRNA, Piton, and Tesla. Eamon likes Fubo this morning. Open. TGT, I believe is Target. Secondary list, TSM, POTR, and QS. Not so much about, not excited about much this morning, Eamon says there. All right, guys, that is what we have. I don't think we missed anything else. We'll give it a couple of more minutes. If any more moderators come up with their list, we can read them out. But I think that covers it all here, guys. For those that are on YouTube, if you have not tried our class, our onboarding class, definitely check it out. You can sign up. We got a code PREMARKET24. It will be tonight at 8 p.m. with myself, Mike, and Kyle. So do not miss that. We start at 8 p.m. Tonight. And you also get access to Kyle's class as well. He's going to be doing a tech class every Monday at 9 p.m. You can join for that also. So do not hesitate to take advantage of that. All right, with that said, guys, I think this covers it. I don't see no other moderators with their list this morning. Thank you so much for YouTube for joining us this week. It's going to be an exciting week as we get into earnings. We're going to see a lot of movement, hopefully some really, really good opportunities at the start of this earnings season. Looking forward to that. So take care, guys. Trade safe, and we'll see you tomorrow or tonight on the onboarding class. Have a good one, and make sure you hit the thumbs up and subscribe over on YouTube. We're going to continue with Andrew and Brian on our list. And with that said, see, I was buying time because I knew Brian was going to come with his list. Here's Brian's list: Piton, MLHR, Fubo, GLW, and also CLNE. So Brian throwing out his list there. He'll be on next on the mic, taking us through what he likes this morning. Take care, guys. Trade safe over on YouTube. Make sure you hit that thumbs up, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.